This saw endured a big mistake from a young fella that was helping my buddy on his farm. He put the wrong fuel in. In other words, he didn't put mixed gas in, he put regular gas in. Do you think we have the potential of saving this saw without having to do any kind of major overhaul? Hey folks, it's Josh, Stoney Ridge Farmer, and this is Cliff at Northern Tool and Equipment, and today we're taking you deep into the bowels of the Northern Tool Equipment Shop for a chainsaw that is totally screwed up. We put the wrong gas in the 500i. Today we're going to take it apart and show you guys what happens when you put the wrong gas in your chainsaw. Cliff, man, thank you.
Nice to meet you, Josh.
It's been, what, a year, I guess, since I've been
Something
back
like
here in the
that.
back of the shop?
Mm-hmm. We worked on your, I think it was one of your family members'
generator.
Little inverter, 2200i.
Yep. So last time we were in here, my parents had a little Honda generator, and they couldn't get it to run very long. Cliff immediately fixed it in like 8 seconds flat. It was just a dirt dauber nest in the muffler.
Mm-hmm. It caused too much back pressure.
Yep.
No start.
Look for the most simple thing. So guys, I've died and gone to tool heaven here. Northern Tool and Equipment is awesome. They're a huge supporter of rural content here on the channel. If you need tools, look at northerntool.com or come into your local Northern Tool store. This is the workshop here in Northern Tool, and you guys work on any piece of equipment. Is that right? Virtually any piece of equipment?
A lot of equipment. There is some aspects of equipment we cannot work on because we just can't get parts for them.
Gotcha. Do you work on just things sold here at Northern Tool, or do you work on anything and everything when it comes to power equipment? Do you work on tools that aren't sold here?
Yes, we do. There's some stuff, like lawnmowers and other weed eaters and chainsaws and stuff that we don't sell that we do work on.
So lawnmowers, weed eaters, chainsaws, pressure washers, generators, name anything else you can think of. What's the oddest thing you've had to work on?
I think compressors, some compressors are very odd to work on, and some of the water pumps that, because we do work on water pumps.
So even electric compressors you guys work on back here?
Yes, sir, we sure do.
Gotcha. So I had no idea before I started talking to these guys at Northern Tool, and it's a huge privilege to be back here, but I didn't know they worked on anything and everything. I see an Ego mower back here. I mean, there's anything and everything.
We are Ego sales and service,
Nice.
whereas we sell the product, but we also service the product.
Awesome. Well, what we have here was a purchase from Northern Tool and Equipment some time back. This is a Steel MS 500i. This is the creme de la creme, the one that everybody drools over. And Cliff was telling me it's even got something a little more special than the standard 500i. This is the fuel-injected chainsaw. This saw endured a big mistake from a young fella that was helping my buddy on his farm, and he put the wrong fuel in. In other words, he didn't put mixed gas in, he put regular gas in. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it or if you know what it's gonna do, but you're gonna learn today how it ruins a chainsaw. And we're gonna take this thing apart and show you exactly what happens when you put the wrong fuel in a chainsaw. So Cliff, take it away, buddy.
All right, first thing I'm gonna do is take the bar and chain off, because we've already found that we cannot pull the rope.
Yep, so try that. Show folks that.
Yeah, I mean, I should be able to pull that right out, and
so
it is
no
nothing.
recoil, no nothing.
Yeah, which means the cylinder, more than likely, the piston and cylinder are locked.
So first thing Cliff is doing here is taking the bar off with the ratchet screens. Did you know I work with these guys? I know the inventor of that.
Oh,
Yeah?
this thing is a godsend.
I'll post a link down in the video description for you guys. It's called the ratchet scrunch.
And
really cool
and it
tool.
does. It has the 19 on one side and the 13 on the other, so it will handle a myriad of chainsaws.
Nice. Good to know it's not just a gimmick, huh?
No, it's not a gimmick. We are tickled to death to have this product in our shop because it has made stuff so much easier.
Odds are, see, this saw was not very well maintained. I hate to call my buddy out, but he's got a lot of young guys working for him, and this saw was being ran by a young man that really had never ran a chainsaw before. And this is a lot of saw. Would you agree? For somebody who's never ran a chainsaw, the 500i is a little much. You need some training.
Yeah, yes, sir. You should start out with probably the small MS 162 or 170 and go from there with it.
Yep.
And as I like to say, break yourself in on using a chainsaw with one of those because they're so much smaller, but they're a great little chainsaw.
Yeah.
And the reason I do this is when I'm tearing one down, I found that if you take the bar and chain off, it makes it so much easier to move, maneuver, flip it over, side to side, whatever you got to do. And plus, it's a safety thing because if you were to slip or whatever, you catch your hand, fingers, or whatever on one of them cutter teeth.
Yeah.
Trust me.
It's a bad day.
It's a bad day. It is a bad day.
You got scars? Oh, there he
There it
is.
is.
Man's got scars.
17 stitches. I learned my lesson. All right, first thing, now we get the side cover off here. Get this taken off.
Okay. What do you call this part?
That's your starter assembly.
Okay.
You got your rotor, that's called a rotor.
Yep.
And then underneath that's a spring. That's your dog ears that grip those little teeth inside the flywheel. Okay. So when you go to crank it, it pulls it, turns flywheel, cranks the engine.
Nice. Now we get to see how the maintenance was.
The air filter, don't look bad at all.
No.
It is a little dusty on the inside, but that's typical for a chainsaw. And then just pop it off.
Cool.
And that gives you access to the spark plug and everything. So, let's see here. Okay, that is a 5/8. Let's see what we got here.
Yeah, let's see.
Let's see what we got. Spark plug don't look too bad. It does have a little grayish tint to it.
Yeah, where it burn up.
Yeah, that sometimes is a sign of that. Next thing we're gonna need to do, we're gonna have to remove this. Get the bar assembly off. And look how you got two different ones on
Gotta
these
remember
screws.
that, yeah.
You got to remember that. This is a metal screw. This is more or less a plastic screw, but they do also use these in the metal. And you don't want to ever mix them up because it'll tear the threads up inside there, and then you won't be able to reattach this. Flip this over. Let's see what we got here. Okay, got these two right here. Always handy to have a magnet.
You guys are learning right now. Cliff is the NASCAR mechanic for chainsaws.
Let's see here. Yep, all right. We got that off. There we go.
All right.
And then we gotta, this is the fun part, is getting,
Pop that out of there.
popping this out. Because sometimes it'll come out, sometimes you have to kind of get it out just a little bit.
A little love. So guys, what we're doing here while Cliff is taking this apart is we're just trying to see whether we can save this chainsaw, whether this is within something that would be repaired at Northern Tool and Equipment, or whether this is something I might have to take to a pro chainsaw shop, because Northern Tool and Equipment is a certified steel repair shop. Is that right?
No, we are a certified repair shop.
Gotcha.
We are certified steel mechanics.
Gotcha.
You have to be in order to do this.
Gotcha.
There we go. I knew she'd pop out.
So does steel put you guys through some training?
Yes, sir. You go to steel school, they have bronze, silver, and gold.
What are you?
I am silver right now.
Nice.
We'll be, hopefully next year, we'll finish up our gold training in Virginia Beach.
Sweet.
You actually go to the factory for training.
Nice.
All right, got that puppy out.
Now we're getting down to the bare bones here.
Yep. Now, let's see here. Like I said, I've never worked on one of these, so it's kind of, there it is. There it is, that's what I was looking for. That right there. Let me grab my little screwdriver and pop that out of its holder all the way down. There we go. That gets that separate from that.
That's some electronics,
Yep.
wiring.
Mm-hmm. Because this thing is fuel injected, so it is controlled by basically these are aluminum, by a
Computer.
like
right?
a computer chip board. So that way, with the coil, the way the coil turns, or the way the flywheel turns and ignites the coil, it senses what it needs to do, and it tells the injector to fire. There we go.
A little dust in there on the old carbonators.
Yep.
I say carburetor, it's not a carburetor, it's in
But you can see
fuel
how
injection.
all this is a fuel injection. So you have your throttle body here.
Yep.
And then see, there's all your micro, I guess you could say, processors, where everything runs in and runs down into there. I do have the compressor turned off, but there is still a little air in there.
There we go.
Let's see how it's attached here. There we
There it
go.
goes.
There it goes, just pops right
That's
out.
cool, man. Just a little miniature throttle body.
Yep, that's what it is. Let's see.
So the mechanical part of a 500i is pretty much the same as any chainsaw, right? It's just the fuel delivery system.
Yes, it's totally different. Like I said, it's set up to be run off of the coil, and the coil basically fires the system.
Gotcha.
That's what it does.
You guys need to know that I'm putting Cliff really on the spot here. Taking this apart in front of millions of people, I'm gonna make him nervous.
A little
I
bit.
think this is really cool. This is really fun
There
to
we
learn
go.
how the inner workings of a chainsaw work for sure. Small engines like this intrigue me. Hopefully you guys are having a good time watching. Hit that like button. Let's keep on watching it.
Here, okay. This fuel.
Okay,
Alright.
so there's a little rubber boot that goes between the throttle body and the saw there, huh?
Yep.
That's what you're kind of popping loose?
Yeah, now I'm gonna see if this thing, yep, there we go. Now, let me see here if I can get in here and pull the fuel line off. There
Okay,
we go.
yeah.
Got the fuel line off. Now I'm trying to figure out this part of it. Let's see here. Pop that ring out.
Oh, yeah.
So now, and then this should just literally
Push through.
come right off, push through. And there we go. There's the pulse line.
Now you gotta put this back together, right? Oh,
Yeah. Happy, happy, joy, joy. Yep, there it is. Pushes in, pops right out.
sweet.
There you go. Pops out there. Then take all this out. And then the same thing. Push in on that. And now she
Alright.
comes. Now she should pull right apart.
Awesome. That's what the inside of a chainsaw looks like.
All right. Now, let's remove, whoop. Dogs like to bite.
Yep.
Now we'll remove the muffler.
This is where we get to see the candy here, guys, taking this muffler off. So we should see a piston in there, is that right, Cliff?
Yep, you can see the piston and the rings
And
when you
this,
bring it up to top dead center.
And this will tell us the tale of why it's locked up. So, before we pop that off, before we get spoiled, don't look.
All right.
I'm kidding. So, but before we talk about this, when you put the wrong fuel in a chainsaw, what does it typically do? What have you seen in the past? I'm sure you've seen this before.
Oh, I've seen all different scenarios with stuff like that. I've seen pistons actually weld to the cylinders.
Gotcha.
And literally have to take a punch and knock the piston out of the cylinder.
Ooh.
Because it was actually welded in there. And I've seen some where it, you know, of course it's what we call scoring or gouging the cylinders. And a lot of times what this does is it overheats. When you don't have the proper fuel mix, two strokes will overheat. And that's where you get the scoring and everything from. So they'll expand out so much.
There's no oil reservoir inside a two-stroke engine, right?
Right.
So the lubrication comes from the fuel itself.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a two-stroke engine versus a four-stroke engine. Can you explain real quickly what a four-stroke versus a two-stroke? I'm putting him on the spot right now, but it's,
Okay.
it's important information.
On a two-stroke, your complete combustion is completed in two strokes. When it draws down, exhaust goes out, and then as it comes up, it pulls the fuel in, goes into the top, and then pow.
Pushes the cylinder down.
Yeah, so you basically have that. In two strokes, you completed the combustion cycle. Four strokes, it takes 4 strokes of the piston to complete the combustion cycle.
So we got down, draws fuel in, up compresses,
then
pow,
you file,
explode, down,
exhaust,
okay,
and then back up.
and back up. So down for the power, push back up for exhaust, then pull back down in, draw more fuel, So 4 strokes versus a two-stroke, up, pow, up, pow.
Now, Stihl also has in their weed eaters and their the little mini tiller or combi system, KM series, they have what's called a 4-mix engine.
Okay.
And what they've done with that is it's still a two-stroke. You still use two-stroke fuel mix, but it has valves in it and works kind of similar to a 4-stroke with valves. So it actually is supposed to do better economy, you know, better, we call it better fuel mileage, of course, but you still retain the power.
Nice.
Like of the two-stroke.
Okay, let's show them the candy, what we got in here, man. Can you see the piston?
Yes, sir, you sure can.
Oh, I'm scared to death. It's just a little scored up in there, not too bad. We'll try to zoom in right there, but you can see it right down in this hole. Not too bad. You can see heating, well, but this is where the muffler is, so should be hot in there, right?
Yep.
Cool. Is it, what do you think? Why do you think it's locked up?
It's swelled up.
Piston swelled?
And it could be, like I said, literally welded to the cylinder.
Gotcha. Do you think we have the potential of saving this saw without having to do any kind of major overhaul?
No. And now you can get a better look.
All right, where's that flashlight? Let's shine down in there.
There you go.
All right, yeah, you can see that piston scored up pretty good. That shiny spot on the piston right there. We're gonna get all the way down to that in a second though. So this is the head, right?
Cylinder.
Cylinder, and this is the crankcase.
Crankcase is down in here.
All right.
And you got 4 bolts that hold the piston, hold the cylinder to the crankcase.
Gotcha.
And all that.
Is the crankcase plastic type material?
No.
Okay.
No, crankcase is metal.
Okay.
Now, on some saws, now on this housing, this is it's either going to be, I can't remember if Stihl is going to use an aluminum or magnesium steel, because they used to always use magnesium.
Gotcha.
Now, on some of their units, the crankcase is plastic, but the crankcase itself for the engine is metal, and it sets down inside.
A plastic reservoir kind of.
Yeah.
Cool. So this is aluminum or magnesium. Gotcha. So everything here basically is metal except for this handle. Now we're removing the head.
Yep. Oh, let me do this, because I do like to remove the flywheel as well, because it gives me a little bit, as you can see right here, how the flywheel covers part of the cylinder.
Yep.
So when you tear them down, you know, take the flywheel off, it makes it so much easier to work with. Screw that in until she stops, back off a little bit.
Okay.
And anyway, I can't turn this, but what this does is if the piston was able to move, you would turn this to where this bumps up, so that when you remove the nut, you're not sitting there going up and down with the piston.
So this
is a
goes
piston
again,
stop.
piston stop. Okay, cool.
Handy dandy flywheel puller
Oh, cool. So that's specifically designed
to pull
to
these.
pull a flywheel off
Yep.
of a chainsaw.
Well, of
steel.
any steel that has a flywheel like this, there's several different styles. You got this style, and then there's another style where the tool actually will when you take the nut off, it actually screws down inside the flywheel, and then the press, you go down and it pops it right off.
Cool.
Whereas this one has the 2 screw holes in it to pull it off.
Gotcha.
Get them good and look snug. There we go. Turn that down. Yep. Gently bump it. So now we'll remove these. There we go. And there we are.
Awesome. So that's tapered,
Mm-hmm.
clearly. Okay, nice.
Yep, and you have your keyway built in to the flywheel right there.
Cool.
As you can see, this is not your typical coil setup,
Okay.
where a coil basically has 2 ears on it, big hunk of metal, and then your wire runs out and runs up here to your spark plug.
Yep.
On this one, this is your coil, but this is also, like I was telling you, where this thing it's special because it has to fire
With the fuel injection.
with the fuel injection. So it powers the fuel injection system.
Cool.
Because think of it kind of like as a miniature alternator.
Nice.
Because it sends an electrical impulse. Now we got that off. Now let's proceed to take that off. Let me use this because I like to break them free with this. There we go. All right. And there we go. I was like, I know you're in there. There's that. Get that in here. We'll pull that back out. Now we'll take this off. All righty.
Oh, here it comes. This is a real moment of truth right here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Let's
locked into the piston is locked to the wall of
Okay.
the head.
Let's see. Oh, I see how they did this. Interesting. Okay. That's how it comes out. It's just a grommet. Pop that out.
Cool. Yeah.
Yep. Pop that off. Put this on gently. And there she comes. There we go.
Oh.
Let's see.
What are we gonna do if it's stuck?
Yeah.
Heat it and beat it?
No, don't have to heat it and beat it. That's one of the good things. Sometimes you just, let's see. Yep, she's stuck in there pretty good.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, let's see here. That will.
So the problem we got here is that the piston is fused to the wall of the, that's the head, right? Call it the head?
The cylinder.
Cylinder, gotcha. Little tap, breaker loose. Piston shot anyway. It's just jammed up in there. Could be the rings caught up in there too, is that right?
Yep. Woo! That bad boy.
Coming out. It's looking rough, ain't it?
Yeah, it is. It's in there pretty good.
Don't put the wrong gas in your chainsaw.
Mm-hmm. Woo! That bad boy is in there.
Is it ramming against the, so it's down in there, that piston rod rides on a crankshaft, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's bound up in the crankshaft right there?
No, it's free on the crank. See there? See how the crank's moving? Or the rod is moving on the crank? It's bound up right here, like we said, on the rings.
What if I held it up for you, up in the air while you whacked it? You think it, see what happens there. See if she'd just drop right out?
Yeah, go down just a little lower so
Okay.
you don't drop too far.
That was my finger.
I'm sorry.
That's all right, I got 7 more.
All right, let me do this.
You about got her.
Yep, I about got her. What I'm thinking
that?
about doing is taking the, yep, that's what I'm gonna do.
We call that a wrist pin, is that what it's
Yeah,
called?
I'm gonna take the wrist pin out. On one side of these, you have a little opening,
Yep.
and I'll flip it over and show it to you. See this little opening right there?
Yep,
You don't have one on the other side, but
Okay.
you have one on this side.
that's called the wrist pin. That retains the wrist pin right there.
Yep, and it is, and I mean, when they're in there, they are in there. I can get, okay, I need to see what I need to do now. Let's see if I can get that up enough to get that in there.
Oh yeah.
There it is. And we should be able to pull it right out.
There you go.
Now let's see here. So now let me go get a tool to knock the pin out.
Y'all are enjoying this? Hit that like button. This is super fun for me. This is the worst piston I've ever seen in any chainsaw. It is just jammed up in there.
Inside the wrist pin, it tapers down in the center to smaller.
Okay.
So that way you can drive it out from this side.
Okay.
Fit right in there. Yep, there we go.
Here she comes. Ooh, got it.
There she is, and there she is. Oh, there goes all the screws coming out.
Make it rain.
Yep. All right, let's see here. There's the other one. So that's all 4 of them.
All right. So what you got there, buddy?
Let's see something. Let's
We're going
see.
to get in the vise for that, ain't we?
No, I don't think so. Let's hope not.
How long have you been working on small engines, Cliff?
30 years.
Nice. You ain't but 32.
58. Put this back in there. I'm gonna try a little something.
Oh, spinny spin.
Yep.
Look. Oh.
Now that's where I
Tapped
it.
Yep.
But you can see that's how bad.
So that's scored up. We're going to look inside the cylinder next. That's scored up in there. The rings, are the rings still free? No. I don't know. Looks
Let's
like.
see.
Did it break a piston ring in there?
No, it seized it right there.
Okay,
They're
gotcha.
seized. And you can see right there where it drug it down and it locked that ring in right there. So that ring, especially the bottom ring is, well, it does move too, but it only moves one way. Same thing with this. Instead of the whole thing coming in together like this, it's only moving from one side. Since
Now, are these 2 rings, are these both oil rings? I guess on a standard piston you have different types of rings.
No, these are just standard piston rings.
Compression?
Yeah, compression. These just standard compression because you got your oil already in your fuel.
Gotcha.
Now, if you had, like I said, on 4-stroke, you'll have your oil and ring, and you have your compression ring.
Gotcha.
And you have 2 compression rings just like you do these. Now, some saws in 2 strokes have 1 piston ring, And some saws or some two-stroke engines have 2 piston rings.
Gotcha. So being this is a pro saw, we're
It's got
looking
2.
at something that's a lot heavier built with 2 piston rings. That's interesting right there. Just a little, it's an aluminum piston probably, or?
Yes, it's aluminum.
Okay. And then inside the head, or I keep calling it the head, but it's a cylinder, right?
Yeah. And there's
Stored
the.
up in there.
Oh yeah.
Light that puppy up. What we got? All right. Oh, it did weld it right to it.
Yep.
Right there. So this is most likely no good anymore?
Yeah, this is due to
For dumpster?
yeah,
Recycle?
recycle. Yeah, she has gotten super duper hot. Usually with overheat, you'll get the scoring on the exhaust side. And with trash ingestion, that's what they call ingestion, dirt ingestion, you get the scoring on the intake side. Well, you have it on both sides here.
Gotcha.
So that's running the wrong fuel mix in it.
So now let's talk down and dirty here. Northern Tool has a program where you can buy an extended warranty, damage warranty, and also extends the manufacturer's warranty, right?
Yes, it's a 1 year or a 2 year plan.
And this is something that would not be covered under that warranty because it is clearly, like, you can't go buy operator error. Yeah.
Operator error caused this, not a manufacturer defect.
Now you could run over the saw,
And that would be
physical damage. It'd be covered. But
Yes,
doing
sir.
this, it's not covered. So,
No, sir, it is not covered.
So looking at this, what would you recommend? We've got to get back in the woods. We got to get back sawing. So we actually have ordered a new saw out here. We'll show you guys in just a minute. But looking at this, what do you think a guy should do? I mean, this is a very expensive. This saw is about $1,800, something like that, retail. What do you think a guy should do? If it was your saw, what would you do with it at this point?
Well, for me, since I am a mechanic and all that, I would rebuild it myself.
Yep.
You know, that's just me. Now, when I look at the cost for a customer,
Yeah.
I look at the age and the cost of repair versus a new saw.
Yep.
So usually my rule of thumb is if it's more than half the cost to
Yep.
repair, replace it.
Gotcha.
That's my rule of thumb. I mean, I have people ask me that all the time, but I tell them, I say, well, that's my rule of thumb. I mean, I can't tell you what to do, you know, as far as what you want to do.
You just want to do the right thing for the customer, pretty much, is what you're
Yep,
saying.
that's what you want to do.
Gotcha.
I'm just kind of looking over this thing, trying to, like I said, I've never had to deal with this. And this thing, this plastic shroud has to come off because that right there is your injector setup
Yep.
and everything. And there's another screw.
I can see it down in there. Yeah, it holds all that in
There's
place.
I think there's another screw right there that holds this on.
Now, do we need to worry in here? Let's talk about what we have left in the bottom end of the engine. Can you tell us what this is?
Okay. Like I said, this is your rod,
Yep, piston rod.
piston rod.
And that
you
connects to the crank.
You got a bearing in here.
It's got roller bearings in there.
And
Yep.
roller bearings down there. And see, that's another thing. The way that this engine pulls fuel in is it injects it right there. That's your injector. So normally your carburetor would be up here. Well, on these, it's actually, this is your air intake.
Yep.
So it comes in through this big hole.
Okay.
And then you got your injector right there.
Got
But it also pulls down the fuel down into here so that it lubricates the bearings.
Nice.
Because that two-stroke oil does lubricate these bearings as well.
Nice. Now, will we have to worry about this being damaged down in the crank area, in the crankcase?
You would see it if it was.
Okay. How would we know? Because I see this is kind of, it's moving around a little bit in
Well,
there, but is this
One of the
normal?
ways that I tell is, see, I can turn it.
Yeah.
So
So-
she's moving. So
Okay.
she's free, no binding, no nothing. She's not, there's no signs of any damage to it whatsoever.
All right. So probably good on the bottom end, or good. You'd
Good on the
say
bottom
good on
end.
the bottom end, but the top end is going to need a full-on
Rebuild.
rebuild.
So you
Man.
need a piston cylinder kit and a new gasket.
Now, did you guys get my new 462 in?
Yes, I believe so.
We got to get back in the woods. So thanks, Cliff. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Josh, for coming.
We have a decision to make, but we've got to get back in the woods. So we've got another pro saw here we're going to show you guys. Gosh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. This is educational. I hope you guys have had fun. Let's go out and take a look at this new saw. I told him I'd ordered a 462, and Cliff's like, what?
Yeah,
So
great saw.
when you buy a saw here at Northern Tool, you guys start it up, you put fuel in it, start it up in the back, make sure it's tuned right? Is that
Yes,
right?
sir. We check it all out before we hand it off to the customer, make sure it's oiling and running right, and, you know, of course, starts.
Nice.
But, you know, one of the most important things that you need to do when you're considering buying a saw,
Yeah?
what are you going to be doing with it? Are you just going to be cutting down, are you going to be cutting down trees and cutting up trees, or are you just going to be a homeowner using the saw around the house, you know, cutting up limbs, maybe cutting down some very small trees and stuff like that? That's what you have to consider, so you don't overbuy, but you also don't underbuy.
Right.
And that's the first question I always used to ask was, hey, what are you going to be using this for? And people are like, nobody's ever asked me that.
Yeah.
And I said, well, that's a very important question.
Yeah.
You know, it's just buying a blower, buying a weed eater. It's the same thing. What are you going to be
Don't
doing?
overbuy, all right.
Don't overbuy and don't underbuy.
Earl here. Earl's been a big help. Earl, thank you. Appreciate
you're
it.
welcome.
Look at Earl's Christmas cheer right there. You got lots of flair there, Earl.
Yep.
So this is the Steel MS 462C. What is this saw?
Well, this is a little bit bigger than the 441, but not quite as big
Okay.
as 500. But as far as a very, very good saw, this is a great saw. I love these saws because they have a lot of power, but you don't have a lot of the weight.
Gotcha.
I mean, that's one of the things I love about it, is that's what you can do with it.
When you walk up to the steel display here and you see, you can see all these saws. We got the 251 here, we've got the 250, we've got the 311, and the 251C, 194. All these are homeowner grade saws, is that correct? When
Pretty much.
When you see this mark on here, does that mean pro saw?
That I honestly don't know, but I do know this. When you get up past when you get up to the 311 line,
Yeah.
I mean not 311, but the 271,
Yep.
you're starting to get into the homeowner professional.
Gotcha.
Top end homeowner, bottom end professional. So, I mean, I know people who have the 311s and have the 391s.
Yeah.
And love them, but they have to, you know, they're cutting down trees and stuff on their property, as
Okay.
well as cutting up stuff too.
So I have a sawmill, and the reason we're going with the 462 instead of the 500i is the cost. The cost of the 462 is just a few $100 less than the 500i, and the 462 is a very, very capable saw, and we need a pro saw to run the sawmill.
Yes, sir, you do.
Yep,
You
so-
should have a pro saw.
Yep.
And one of the things about this is it does have the elastic start pull rope system.
Yeah.
Which means it's not as a hard pull. It's got like a cushion in it. So when you're
Gotcha.
pulling on it, it's not a hard yank. It's a good yank, so to
Okay,
speak.
good. It's a little more gentle on your arm.
Yes,
Gotcha.
and
Don't
your
pull your
hand and
shoulder
everything.
up.
Yes.
And this has a compression release, just like the 500i had. You mash a button here. Tell me what a compression release is. That'll kind of conclude us here. So what does a compression release do?
Okay, when you hit the compression release button, when you go to crank it, it makes it easier to pull.
Gotcha.
And then once the engine, what I call hits,
Yep.
it'll pop it up, and then of course, you flip your thing from, like on here.
Yep.
On this one, it's just straight out right there.
Gotcha.
Go to crank it. Once it cranks, pull your trigger and then sit there and get warmed up.
Good to
But
go.
once it hits, it'll pop that back up because the compression on the upstroke will push it out.
Now, since you've been trained by Steel, tell me, is there a break-in procedure, or are these saws ready out of the box to go?
They're ready out of the box to go.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, that is cool, man.
Because at the factory, they do test these saws before they leave. All Steel equipment is tested at the factory before it leaves.
Well, thanks, Cliff. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
And Earl, hiding over here. Thank you. Appreciate
you're
it.
welcome.
Earl organized all this so we could get back in the back and check out what goes on in the back room here at Northern Tool and Equipment. So if you guys need your equipment worked on, be sure you check out Cliff at Northern Tool and Equipment. Check out your local Northern Tool and Equipment. And we're going to take this saw and get the sawmill fired up, guys. We'll see you next time on the Stoney Ridge. Guys, you know what we do at the end of the video, right? Woo! Woo! See y'all. Take care. That was my finger.
I'm sorry.
Dude, I'm in love.